It is that time again. We got the Tech Marine of Kingfisher going up against the Ravener Alpha of Leonus. The map is Fedrid Folly. We need a bit more Tyranid gameplay, so here we go. Let's see how effective this is going to be. Pretty big map. Pretty good for the Ravener Alpha, I'd say. Can even abuse the Garrisons near the contested VP, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, it looks like Kingfisher's actually rocking the triple scouts, which apparently is the meta. I haven't tried it myself yet, but we'll see. Well, to be honest, it's more the meta against Eldar. I don't know about against Tyranids. I feel like specifically against the Ravener Alpha, this will be a lot less effective because, you know, Ravener Alpha actually has ranged DPS early on. It can't be said for everyone, that's for sure. Well, let's see how he does. Conventional build for Leonus so far. Love this scout play to capture the contested early on. I really like that. I think the Ravener Alpha should be doing that. Should have a decent engage down here with the scouts against the Horns, particularly because the scouts can take the Garrison, for which there will not really be any counter. Fast shotguns coming out for these scouts. We'll see how effective it is. Getting a little bit more poke, but it is only a little bit of poke. There is going to be some pressure on the gen farms. Now, obviously, Kingfisher is very reliant on power here due to his lack of tactical marines and only having scouts. They need upgrades to be in any way effective in combat. And obviously, you need power for those upgrades. So I'd like to see this getting noded. Garrison play has been a bit of a nuisance here for for Leonus. But Fisher putting himself in a pretty awkward spot there. Hormagaunts getting some nice retreat damage onto those scouts, dropping 2 models. I mean, that's tricky, and losing both of the gens. I'd say this start definitely favours Leonus. However, the Termagants on this side did seem to get routed by the scouts. They're not good in isolation, the Termagants. You always want to keep them together, I would say. But here you go, they're coming out of the tunnel nice and fast. Going to force off those scouts. Unfortunately, don't manage to snag a model kill there. Honestly, the Tech Marine is probably going to come over and deal with these Termagants promptly. Needs to get back into cover. Warriors will help. Yeah, might save a model. Maybe? Nope. Oh, 2 models down. Finally, that Tech Marine gets disrupted a little bit. Explosive shot going to knock those warriors back, but let's face it, it's not going to do any crazy amount of damage. These warriors are very tanky. Should be focusing on the scouts though, not the Tech Marine. The scouts do output more damage than the Tech Marine. They, of course, will die a lot faster as well. Yeah, Ravener Alpha tying up the scouts in melee up there. They got to back off. And Leonus is just going to charge the gem farm again, but it's going to be worth a lot less this time. Still, Kingfisher hasn't bought the contested node over here. Finally does. That's very late. He should have had that a long time ago. Remember that a noded power point is equivalent. Well, it's 90% of the power income to a generator. So just imagine if he had that up the whole time. That would be like having an extra gen here the entire time. Be huge, but he didn't. Now he gets it, but Leonus is ready to engage. Now Leonus has been a little bit lax on the gens himself because he's gone for this warrior into fast Ravener play, which is fine. It's pretty solid and the pressure is certainly on. At this point, Leonus's army is going to be a lot stronger than Kingfisher's, especially with Fisher then deciding to drop triple gens here. Might have been a little bit excessive. I probably would have liked to have got some ASM out a bit sooner, because it's now going to be so hard for Fisher to fight against those Raveners. I mean, yeah, just Raveners, Warriors, double Termagants, you're going to be able to overwhelm these scout players so easily. Taking out this tunnel will be very nice for Fisher. I don't think, no, nothing can come out to defend that in time. But the cooldown for the tunnel should be over soon. Now he did just build this tunnel down here. Hormagaunts should come out of this tunnel, take out the node. Then all the ranged blobs should come out of here and push down. You could send the warriors here, or you could send the warriors down this side. Probably just send them here for now. Consolidate this side and then get another tunnel from here over to here. And keep the pressure on. Attempted foot nade, it does okay, slightly off center though. Adrenal glands coming in for the Hormagaunts. I'd like to see the toxin sacks as well. Obviously these upgrades were very delayed for Leonus because he opted to get his gens so late to get the Raveners out sooner, and that's fine. But I would be prioritising the toxin sacks for the damage increase over the adrenal glands. These Hormagaunts I would have sent over here Right now, I don't really think you need the Adrenal Glands and the Hormagaunts because there's no actual melee threat on the field. There's no ASM. Remember that Raveners and Termagants are your scout counter, not Hormagaunts. Hormagaunts do not counter scouts. If you try and do that, you will suffer. Kingfisher's still not getting anything. I don't know what the plan is here. He's got so much power now. I assume he's just going to try and fast tech straight into tier 2, but that's so risky. Oh man, imagine if he had his extra Termagant here to help focus fire these scouts. Misplay here from Leonus. He shoots the scouts that are both in cover and have higher HP. These guys were already down to like 60%. They probably would have been forced off if the focus fire was onto them. Furthermore, the warriors were busy capping, so I don't think they were actually giving the synapse damage resistance buffs to those Tyranids. Warriors should have just forgotten about it, moved forward and tied the scouts up in melee and tanked. Whilst you get all of your range DPS in, you'd have forced those scouts away instantly. Because remember, the other thing about the warrior knockback, when they charge in, it knocks the enemy out of cover. So then you focus fire them and get rid of them straight away. And then even if he rebuilt the node, who cares? You just turn around and destroy that very quickly with your ranged blob and then decap with like Raveners or something. So a bit of a misplay there from Leonus. I don't know what the Hormagaunts have been doing the whole time. They must have had a miss micro here and were forced into retreat. They should have destroyed this ages ago. This has been giving Kingfisher a lot of power. Remember, that's like an extra gen Fisher has had for ages. And Fisher even bought that late as well. So these things basically are facilitating Kingfisher getting this pretty much a fast tech into tier 2. Which, you know, shouldn't really be something that can happen when you go such a high pressure tier 1 as the Tyranids. And the inability to stop the fast tech by brashing all of his generators when you've committed so much resources to your tier 1 is going to result in a problem for Leonus. I mean, he's behind in tech against Space Marines. That's going to be a problem. This should be a pretty good engagement. You've got the entire range blob and the scouts are just walking into it. Yeah. See how handily they beat them when they're out of cover and they don't have any support? Absolutely thrashed them. It's not even close. Not even a Termagant died. Those scouts got wrecked. Even the Tech Marine should die very, very fast. As long as he's out of cover, it's no problem. Look at that. But yeah, it's all just delaying tactics for Fisher basically while he gets this Razorback out. Now the thing is, he's going to get this Razorback out, and he's got crazy repair support for it. I mean, potentially 40 HP per second. But the thing is, you don't just sit there and tank damage generally with the Razorback. You might do for a couple of seconds whilst you've got it under smoke, but not for a long time. So that repair support, not really a huge deal. Venombrood do just insane DPS to vehicles. The reason the Venombrood can't normally kill Razorbacks is because the Razorback's too quick and just drives away. But that tactic of hit and runs with a Razorback generally only works with tactical Space Marines with a plasma gun, because the plasma gun's like a bursty weapon. It shoots out its ball of plasma, has a long cooldown before it attacks again. So you hop out of the Razor, boom, kill a warrior, get that backlash, you're back in the Razor, and the attacks reload whilst they're in the Razorback. My point is, Kingfisher doesn't have any tactical Marines. Now normally that plasma gun tactical blob, normally you have 2 of them at least. Sometimes you can even get 3. Well, Kingfisher can call in a tactical Marine with a drop pod, but he's only going to have 1 attack. So this Razorback should be a lot less effective than usual. We'll see how it goes. And now Kingfisher gets the tier 2 ASM, and I actually really like the tier 2 ASM. I think it would have been better to get them in tier 1. I think Fisher played a really risky game, and I think if Leonus played optimally, he could have punished that. Like this engagement he took here against the 2 scouts. Leonus should have won that engagement. He microed even whilst having only 1 Termagant there. He should have had 2, and then microed correctly, and he would have wiped the gem farm, and it probably would have been GG. He didn't. Anyway, talking to miss micro, Kingfisher miss micros, actually idles his scouts there and loses them. I think they were the default ones that were just on capping duty though, so that's not too big of a loss. And this composition is scary. Like I say, the lack of plasma attacks means the Razorback isn't half as threatening as normal, but it's still a big threat for Tyranids. Yeah, that was only the default ones that died, so it's not a huge loss. So you get your Venombrood out to kill it right, but now there's bloody ASM as well. And then you could potentially have a melee Tech Marine charging in as well, or a Plasma Gun Tech Marine. Both of them are problematic for different reasons. I think because there are no attacks, I would probably opt for a Plasma Gun Tech Marine. think that probably would be the best option, because you've got to get something that can kill these warriors fast. Look at them, so tanky with that melee synapse. 1,732 HP, they're going to eat shotgun fire, razorback fire all day long. And you can see they shrug off the damage of the ASM quite well. Beautiful combo there. Merciless strike into a grenade, and the Space Marines get out of there without losing a single model. I mean, that is what Space Marines do, but hilariously, the Tyranids didn't lose a model either. Did take a lot of damage. Yeah. Took a lot of damage onto the Raveners and the Warriors, and those injured Raveners then die to a heavy bolter. And those Raveners walk on top of the grenade, but they're not dying because they're under synapse, so that grenade does 20% less damage than it normally would. These guys also have damage synapse, so they're now doing 25% more damage when they're in this radius around the Ravener Alpha. Now, the Adrenal Gland Warriors are kind of aimlessly charging after the Razorback, and this is the problem. Razorback is too fast. If it's well microed, which to be fair, Kingfisher is doing a good job of, it can just do this. And Leonus retreating everything here, that's really bad. Why? For a start, you shouldn't have overextended the Warrior Brood, but there's absolutely no reason to retreat everything. The Termagants and the Ravener could have just took out that Tech Marine, and then you could have caught this side of the map while the Ravener's coming back. And yeah, Kingfisher's army is looking scary, to be honest, guys. This is looking scary. Drop pod comes in, some tactical Space Marines are now on the field. So now we're starting to develop what could be considered a conventional build to fight Tyranids as Space Marines. Now, one thing that would support them here would be to get some Devastators in the back that you can fall back to stop any big melee pushes. The Librarian is also a really nice option. He does power melee damage, so he can actually chomp down those warriors quite effectively, and you can use all of his abilities to deal with the warriors as well. You can get the Force Barrier to make his damage better, but the Force Barrier is actually really good to cover your retreats as well. Force Barrier won't push the Razorback, remember, so you can drive the Razorback with the shooting troops inside of it, back through the Force Barrier, and all the Nids get away. But here we go, we've got a huge engagement here. This is the full Tyranid blob. This is not a fight that Fisher wants. He doesn't have his entire army here, and it's not favourable position. But the advantage the Space Marines have is that they can disengage, so he wants to disengage. And he's going to lose his Razorback, it looks like. Where are the Venom Brood? The Venom Brood are really far back, but it doesn't matter. The Adrenal Gland Warriors take out the Razorback. Poor micro from Kingfisher. Needed to keep that thing moving. I don't know what's going on. These scouts are idling. Oh, missed micro. He was attempting to throw the grenade, but it's too little too late. He needed to get out of there. Potentially saved his other scout squad with the synaptic backlash on the warriors there. One of them going down and sending those homogons flying so the other scout squad can get out of there. That is an atrocious engagement for both players, but at the end of the day, whilst the bleed may have been high for Leonus, ultimately multiple units were wiped out there of Kingfisher, and his composition is looking very light now in comparison to the Tyranids. Now, the good thing for Kingfisher is he has got tremendous VP pressure. 445 VPs to the 166 VPs and ticking down very quickly for Leonus. The good thing for Leonus is he's playing the Ravener Alpha, so he's got tunnels. Look how quickly those homogons get straight back out onto the battlefield after retreating and get onto that VP. I understand that when you're using a giant Tyranid blob like this, it can become very micro-intensive to manipulate each of the parts individually, but I think one of the biggest flaws of Leonus's Tyranid play here is that he is kind of blobbing and mass retreating with it far too often. He's mass retreating all over the place when he doesn't need to. One of the great things that Tyranids have is, well, they're faster than the enemy and they outnumber the enemy, so it's very hard for the enemy to maintain map control. But when you just Alt-X and retreat all of your army instantly, well, you know, it's not half as effective then. Just to see Sternguard, which are not a common pick in this matchup, but they can be effective, obviously. Swap to the Hellfire now, put some huge pressure onto the Raveners, way more pressure than a Plasma Gun could ever do. Those Raveners need to get out of there. They're going to bleed like crazy. They actually risk getting wiped right now with the damage over time from the Hellfire rounds. Lucky that the ASM do not have the energy for a second jump. Instead, they opted for that Merciless Strike. The Hellfire rounds now putting in some crazy work. Terminants dropping left, right, and center. Terminants get wiped. Rippers spawned out of the tower. They're going to tie up the Sternguard. That needed to happen a little bit sooner, a little bit too late for Leonus there. And he's going to handily lose this engagement. And the problem is the VP pressure is going to continue, because all that Kingfisher needs to do now really is hold these two VPs at the top. If somehow he could save up the power to get a Dreadnought, I think he'd be in a... Sorry about that. I think he'd be in a fantastic position, but it doesn't appear that he get that power. I mean, he's opting for the Refractor Shield. Definitely a good upgrade, nice and cheap, but Yeah, I don't know, man. I think he needs a Dreadnought, to be honest. Sternguard probably going to be forced off here. No, Hormagaut's no longer chasing them, actually just going for the VP. We've got an upgrade on the Ravener. What's that? The Acid Splatter. Yeah, pretty scary upgrade for melee Space Marines. Power melee damage, 55. Look at the damage on the Sternguard from that thing. Are they going to wipe? Oh, Kingfisher's messing up his micro. He's going to lose his Sternguard. He's too busy focusing on the ASM and the engagement on the contested VP with his scouts. So, oh no, there wasn't even anything there. What is he focusing on? I don't know, I guess the ASM. Turret is putting in some huge work here, suppressing the warriors, might get some backlash. Kind of unlucky not to kill one. Oh, there you go, turret gets one. And that secures the retreat of the Tech Marine. Tech Marine level 5 at this point, compared to the level 3 of the Ravener Alpha. But this Ravener Alpha suddenly is just way scarier now. He's got that reinforced chitin, and that makes him immune to weapon and domino knockback. Huge. So the ASM jumping in won't knock him over. Special attacks won't knock him over. Meanwhile, he does 55 DPS power melee with 15 piercing damage splash in radius 5 around the target he hits. This weapon will shred ASM. And the fact that you can't knock him over with your shotgun scouts or with your jumps or your merciless, ooh, it's not a nice thing to be dealing with. When you don't have devastators to suppress him, when you don't have just superior firepower to focus fire him, it's going to be hard. So I don't know. I mean, Fisher's got this VP lead, but I think compositionally still it might favour the Tyranids. Let's have a look at the levels. Level 2 Raveners, level 2 ASM, level 2 Warriors. Okay, so the levels are pretty even. The Tech Marine is level 5, which means this Refractor Shield's going to be pretty nutty. 140 energy to fuel this here, and it does have the typical 5-to-1 ratio, so you have to inflict 5 HP damage to make him lose 1 energy worth of a shield. So that is a lot of extra HP right now on the Tech Marine. And one of the cool things about the Refractor Field, so it's bad because it doesn't give you immunity to knockback like most shields, but it's good because there is a 20% chance for it to just absorb the attack, or, you know, in like, I suppose you could say, dodge the attack. So there's a 20% chance that each attack onto the Tech Marine when he's got the shield up just does no damage. And that actually includes melee attacks, which not a lot of people realise. It's the only time that melee attacks in this game can miss when they're targeting Refractor Shield Tech Marine. So it's like 20% effective damage resistance plus 140 times 5. This is a very, very cost-effective upgrade for 20 power. But still, it's not enough. Leonus forces Kingfisher off in this occasion. Leonus needs to get some more tunnels up over here though and keep the pressure on. Now he's got some Gene Stealers. So it looks like the Gene Stealers looking very spooky in their black with their green talons. We're going to go take this VP and then they'll probably stand nearby. They can infiltrate and protect it. That said, these scouts will actually detect them, so maybe not that powerful of a strategy. But look right here, an attempted merciless strike from the ASM, and they get wiped out by that Ravener Alpha with the Acid Splatter. I told you, such a powerful threat to deal with the ASM. The inability to knock him over when he's got this reinforced chitin, it is huge in turning around the effectiveness of that Ravener Alpha. At 55 DPS power melee, it really does add up, even not accounting for the splash damage. So the Dreadnought's finally coming out at last, but I feel like Kingfisher at this point has just lost too many units. That initial engagement here that he took, the massive fight, the army versus army fight, where he lost the Razorback and the Scouts, I feel like it's just been downhill for Kingfisher from here. That said, Leonus is playing so conservatively, trying to minimize bleed and just not having any squad wipes. But it's costing him in the map control in a lot of situations when he's winning fights, so he should be dominating the map control. But he wins the fight and then he just mass retreats out of there. So I don't know. There's always a way to win the game when you have 380 VPs and your opponent has 45. But then again, I don't know. Kingfisher seems to be capitulating now. Like, I felt like there was no real reason to lose the Tech Marine over there, and now he's just dropped the Tac Sarge and 2 Tactical Marines for effectively no reason. I think he was fighting with the Gene Stealers over here, maybe hit him with a good foot nade or something. So they are going to get the contested VP with the Scouts, but this is Dawn of War 2, man. If you don't have 2 VPs, well, you might as well have no VPs, because you're not ticking down the enemy's counter, and you're still getting ticked down. So he's going to give it another go. He repurchases his Tax, his Sergeant, his Tech Marine. It's got the Dreadnought now. There isn't a crazy amount of AV here. I mean, there's literally just the Venom Brood and the Warriors right now, so the Dreadnought should be fine if it just charges the Venom Brood. Problem is the Ravenant Alpha can swap to his Corrosive Devourer. You have potentially Catalyst on the Venom Brood, not being used right now. The Warriors are just going to ignore them. They're going to deal with the rest of the troops, which I think is smart. Just back the Venom Brood off. When the Dreadnought is a safe distance from the Venom Brood, put Catalyst on the Venom Brood to do way more damage. Seriously hurt the enemy. Miss macro there though, lets the Dreadnought get into melee with the Venom Brood. But he's wiped the tax and he's wiped the Tech Marine again. The Warriors don't even lose a model to that grenade. Level 4 Adrenal Gland Warriors, 2600 HP. These guys are absolute beasts. And the Dreadnought's going to be chasing the Venom Brood into base, it seems. Which, you know, that's something, but it doesn't help you get the VPs, and unfortunately it is now a 2-0 cap, and soon it is going to be a triple cap in favour of Leonus. Poor Kingfisher, so close, yet so far. Dreadnought really should have just walked over the tunnel while it was there. That was a bit of a misplay. Venom Brood could actually get out the tunnel right now and make an absolute nuisance themselves. Leonus is playing a very conservative game. I like how patient he is. You know, he could be purchasing like Corrosive Devourers to try to kill this Dreadnought as soon as possible. But at the end of the day, who cares? He's got 250 VPs. Sorry, he hasn't. He's got 45 VPs. Yeah, maybe he shouldn't be playing so conservative. Maybe he does need to close this game out. I forgot he's got so few VPs. Well, either way, I don't know. He just is a very conservative player. I've seen that this game. He's clearly waiting for his win con, whether that's a Carnifex, whether that's a Swarm Lord, and then he knows he's going to win the game. But yeah, that's kind of risky, because he has so few VPs. But it doesn't matter. The Venom Brood here, finally, Catalyst down on the Venom Brood. They're going to destroy that Dreadnought, and then, yeah, the drop pod attacks aren't going to achieve anything. Just too many unit losses from Fisher, unfortunately, and he's going to throw in the towel, literally with his entire army wiped at that point. I guess the Gene Stealers took out the Scouts. I love this Gene Stealer skin. They infiltrated there, but even when they're out of it, they look pretty cool. The dark black skin and the green talons. The Carnifex was on the way as well to seal the deal in favour of Leonus. So there you go, folks. A little bit of Tyranid gameplay for you. I love seeing Tyranids. Never get to see them enough. You guys have any good gameplay that you want to share with me, especially if it's Tyranids, especially if it's on maps that aren't Greentooth Gorge or Ashes of Typhon, then look in the description. There's a link to my Discord where you can send your replays. If you did enjoy the content, please leave a like, please leave a comment to support this video being seen by more people. Thank you for your time, folks. Hope you have a wonderful day. That is your boy Torpid, signing out.